All right, my minions. Thank you for joining Nemesis Group. I appreciate you being here and watching this. I got my good buddy Mike here, owner of Mike's Car Hole. Let me see the shirt. Let me see the logo. There you go.
Mike's Car Hole.
Mike's Car Hole. I'll put a link to his YouTube in the description. Smart dude, great guy, co-worker of mine, great buddy, the vehicle guru, and you'll see that as he starts adding more to his YouTube channel. But he's just going to do an interview with me here, and it's part 3 of emergency preparedness that I've been doing with y'all, getting some good positive feedback. So I'm glad I'm putting out content that y'all like and y'all can use and you enjoy. So he's going to have a casual conversation and go over just some of the things that he does in emergency preparedness. He has some really great ideas and great tips for y'all. So sit back and enjoy it.
You'll have to forgive me. I took a couple of notes on my phone, so I'll occasionally look down at my phone for a reference. I don't really want to touch on too much of what Anthony talked about, but some of the things that I find the most important are water. Water in any situation is one of the most important things. Having bottled water is good. I like to think a little differently. Like, I have bottled water, but I also store water, like through rain collection, or if I know that there's like a hurricane. We both live in the hurricane zone.
Virginia.
So,
Virginia.
So before hurricanes come in, we have ample notice. I'll usually fill up my bathtubs, and I used to fill up my washing machine with water as well, in case the power went out. None of those are really for consuming per se, but it's extra water for flushing the toilets, or if you need some water for taking a shower or just being clean. The bottled water and all the other ones, filling up pitchers and things like that, is what what I'd use for drinking. And then some of the other things that I use for water, like if you do need to use your rain collection water, or you're going to use the bathtub water for some reason to drink, there's a couple of tips that I use. You can sanitize that water with bleach. For every gallon of water that you're going to sanitize, it's 8 drops of bleach. Any more than that, and it's not good. So 8 drops of bleach per gallon. You can also boil your water. You can use iodine. I highly recommend always purifying your water before you drink it.
Yes, bacteria is bad for you people.
Last thing you need to do is be in a crisis and then be sick too. So try to prevent that at the lowest cost. Trying to think. The other thing I like, like if you live near water, a stream, a lake, even the ocean, really, you can make that water drinkable. The ocean salt water is obviously a lot more involved than grabbing stuff from the stream, but you can make potable water out of it. So
boil the salt and everything out of it. One of the things also, one of my other buddies, guys that I work with, he actually has this device where basically you screw on, like, you can fill up, get a regular bottle, basically screw it on and like flip it upside down, and literally filters all the contaminants out of the water into a cup. You unscrew that cup, and then drink it.
Yeah, there's a lot of good stuff out there. Another thing you can grab too, if you just want to have in your toolbox, they sell life straws. You can literally just go right into a stream, lake, whatever source of water, and you can drink right out of the life straw. I think it's called life straw.
It just filters
it filters it out.
Right out.
Yeah, so as you're sucking in whatever water source, it'll filter it out. I don't know what the life expectancy on those things are, and I wouldn't trust them for a long-term solution. But if you're out hiking, that's not a bad thing to throw in your bag for hiking, camping, or even just having it in your emergency preparedness kit for your house. Just an extra source. It goes back to what I've told you before about my 2 is 1, 1 is none thing. Having several different sources to create, in whatever situation. Just it's a lot better to have more than one. Don't lean on just one way of thinking.
Can you go into more like the general concept of the meaning behind 2 is 1, 1 is none?
Yeah, so like You know, I'll switch it to like fire, for instance. Like, if your sole purpose to create fire is matches, and you're trying to light a fire in a torrential downpour, matches aren't really good anymore. So that's your one source, and that one is none because it's not going to start a fire. So having two different sources to create the same outcome, having a flint and matches, having a flint and a lighter, having, you know, just different sources. Maybe you have a battery and some metal. You can start a fire with that. There's just different ways to, you don't just rely on one particular thing for whatever your preparedness is. So with water, fire, safety, you know, like, if you're carrying a knife, you still want a gun. And if you have a gun, you still want a knife. It's two is one. So
One is none.
One is none. Two is one. One is none. So anytime you're preparing, that's how I always think of things. It's like, okay, I got this idea, but you know, what if something goes awry and this doesn't work? So guns meant, you know, if you're in a fight for life or something crazy and your gun fails, then what do? Do you have another way to protect yourself? Do you have another resource to grab? So, you know, that's
thunder and lightning.
come get some. So yeah, that's kind of my thing. Let me go back on some of this other stuff. I touched on all that. One of the other things that when I was watching your videos that a lot of us forget about, like even the most prepared preppers or people that prepare for disasters and things, is they forget cleanliness, i.e. your clothes or your personal body. You know, you still need to take a shower, not every day like we do now, but you still need to get clean.
At
so
some point, yeah.
At some point in time,
you need that grime off.
You need to clean. You need to clean yourself. So, one of the things that I have in mind, I don't use it on the regular, but I carry bars of soap in mine, and you can use whatever water you want to use, as little water as you can, but you still need to clean yourself, and depending on how long, you know, power's out and things, you still may need to clean some of your clothes. You know, some of us have a good stockpile of clothes, but even if you have a month's supply of clothes and power's out for 2 months, at some point in time you're gonna have to wash some clothes. So having an extra bucket around and just something to clean them out with, and you had that 550 cord from your bracelet and some other 550 cord, you can run a string and hang it out and let the sun dry out your clothes. So, you know, you don't necessarily need to run a clothesline in your yard 24/7, but just being able to hang up your stuff would be ideal.
Yeah, I like it.
And that's just one of the things that a lot of people just forget about when they're doing emergency preparedness, is you do have to clean yourself. And then some of the other things I like to keep on hand is currency. So, you know, like if we lose power for a long time, stores may still be open, may or may not, but chances are if there's no power, it's going to be a cash-only environment. So I like to keep some emergency cash as well.
Nice.
You can set that up for however much you desire. I'm not going to say my amount, but I have cash stored for emergencies. I also store bouillon, and I don't mean the chicken or beef flavored bouillon. Bouillon, I mean.
How many cubes for that loaf of bread there? You know?
I got 6 chicken cubes. What you got? No,
that's the barter. We're going back to the barter system there.
No, I mean silver and gold, palladium or platinum. You can buy them in coins, bar form, and I just recommend having. I'm not going to say how much, but you should have some silver in different denominations, whether it's an ounce, 5 ounces, 10 ounces, a bar, kilo. You know, you should be able to have some cash and some bouillon to help.
And the bouillon, I think, would be more for like definitely long term, you know, kind of almost end of days type scenarios, like longer than a month, longer than 6 months, where it doesn't seem like anything's coming back up, because eventually in situations like that, I'm sure you will agree that paper currency is going to go away. It's going to be worthless. It's paper. It's going to be basically toilet paper at that point.
It's a fiat system. So yeah.
But and I know there's some of y'all kind of paycheck to paycheck, and I sympathize. That's unfortunate. But if you can put $1 here away, $1 there away, quarter here, whatever you can do that's feasible for emergency cash, because he is right. I mean, everything that we do today, conveniences are tapped into the grid, power source of some sort, especially now. I can't remember honestly the last time I paid anything with cash because I just used my card.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
But that all runs on electricity. That goes down, and they're going to be pen and pad in there, taking tallies and be cash only.
And we just had.
But ATMs don't work because those run off of power. So.
Yeah, out here in our area, we just had the gas shortage because the pipeline out here was like hacked into and they shut it down.
Yeah.
So I mean it's not necessarily a disaster, but our gas stations still don't have gas. So
well, it was a man-made disaster. I mean, that definitely impacted us.
Fortunately for me, I have a diesel car, so it didn't affect me that bad. But
yeah,
one of my cars is diesel. If you come over to my channel, I got a bunch of gas guzzling American cars.
But he was prepared. Diesel.
I have a diesel car too. I have a diesel car. The other thing I would say, when you're first starting out for emergency preparedness, this was the very first thing that I did was I created a go bag. And for me, what a go bag is it's a 3-day supply of food, water, and supplies you'll need for if you have to leave your house and just leave the area. If something crazy happens here and I need to leave, I've got at least 3-day supply that's accessible to me at a moment's notice.
Hello, my minions. So you can see there's a break in the video. So what had happened was, whenever we were recording, one of my alarms went off and just completely screwed up the video. But I decided to, leave the mistakes and bloopers and whatnot in. I find, one, they're entertaining, and two, it just gives more sincerity to the videos. So there will be one more glitch, one more break in the video. So don't mind it, but just enjoy the rest of the ride. Thank you. Keep going. We'll chop that.
We'll chop that. So yeah, I have my 3-day go bag ready to go. I have one for my wife, and before too long, I'll have one for my son. I have he's still a baby, but he'll have his own go bag too. But yeah, those are just for a moment's notice. I have to go. I grab these bags and I'm in the car and I'm out. That's the first level. So if you're starting out, any backpack works. Something that you can grab and go. I mean, it could be the lowest level. It can be a Walmart shopping bag. It doesn't matter, just as long as it has enough supplies for you for 3 days. On the diets that we eat, non-emergency, we're eating about 2,000-ish calories a day. So take that into mind. I don't recommend that. It's a mindset. You have to change your mindset when an emergency happens. You have to change. All right, my body doesn't need 2,000 calories a day. That's just the American way. Like my personal body, I only need about 1,400 calories a day. So the lighter you can make things to carry, the easier it is if you have to hike out into the woods. So you're carrying potentially less gear, but that's everybody's individual choices as far as that goes. And that's about all I got for the go bags. But I have everything I can need. Like you said. 550 cord is big, and then I carry that blanket, the aluminum blanket,
The
thermal. I use that for like a tent, and then
those are pretty sturdy. You can you can tent them. It'll keep water out and it'll keep heat in.
Yeah.
You can actually use it to reflect heat back onto you or to a different area. You can get real creative with the thermal blankets. They're awesome.
Yeah, thermal blankets are killer, and they don't take up much. Like for my go bag, I'm not carrying sleeping bags and things like that. It's just taking up too much space. I need water and food and some supplies. And that's the general gist. Usually I have like first aid kit as well. So you never know what's going to happen as far as
needle and thread. Dental floss. Use dental floss.
Use dental floss.
Sew anything up. Dental floss is some vodka.
Yeah, that was the other thing I was going to add to with the currencies is liquor. If we're down for a significant amount of time, also is used as a currency. I don't recommend storing vast amounts of liquor for that, but throw a couple of cheap bottles of vodka. They can be used to sanitize if you hurt yourself, and people do barter for alcohol. You know, if we're 6 months plus without power, the alcohol supply is going to be gone. Somebody may be really fiending for some, and they may trade you whatever resources to get you further down the road. So it's a good resource. I like to keep cheap liquor in the emergency kit. I have good liquor in normal society, but I have emergency liquor as well. Let's see what else I got. Go bag. All right, a couple other things that like I do, or I take into consideration. I'll hit the first point. If we've been without power for a couple of over 2 weeks or so, like Patterson was talking about, he has a lot of stuff to cook on. A cooktop that runs on propane. I have that as well. I have barbecue or propane run barbecues and things like that. But if the power's been out for a while, majority of people store most of their food in their refrigerator. It's all going to go bad. When people get hungry, crazy things happen. So if this happens, I would say after about 2 weeks to 3 weeks, you need to stop cooking your food, because people that haven't been eating in a week or two are starting to get hungry and they can smell it. So my suggestion is to not, however, depending on how long the situation's going. So if it's been a while, I wouldn't suggest cooking.
Basically, once chaos sets in, you see marauders outside, you know people are going ape shit. And, and you know, just be safe, don't attract attention. You might, as disgusting as it is, you might have to eat that bacon raw.
I don't recommend eat that bacon first.
All right,
we're back. So what I was saying was, I don't like to cook after a certain amount of time if we've been without power for a while. But what I will say is, if you store canned food, as potentially gross as it is, that food's safe to eat out of the can. It may not be what you like, but you have to change your mindset. You can crack open that can and just eat it out of the can. I don't recommend heating it up. Just eat it out of the can. That's just my personal advice, if you will.
No, I mean it's smart. I mean, obviously we're one hack or natural disaster away from for things going bad. I mean, it's as simple as that.
And it's not that I don't want to help all my neighbors, and it's not that I don't want to help everybody, but it's, I have a decent supply myself. Let's say 3 to 6 months of food supply. But what if I need that full 3 to 6 months? I can't afford to feed my neighbors. If an emergency comes up and they're like, it's only going to be a month, sure, I can spare some food to help people out, but the government's not always honest with us. The pandemic was only supposed to last 2 weeks, and we're into a year of it now. So, you have to protect yourself and your family first.
And also, like I was saying before, I mean, the government, even local government, their protocols is to get as much operating as quickly as possible. You as the individual, in the grand scheme of things, doesn't rate. So you individually may be without for weeks at a time, or days at a time, weeks at a time, just because they're busy. Everyone else is busy trying to get the entire city back up and running, the entire state back up and running. So take that into consideration.
Another thing that I like, I don't know if you have it or not, but we'll talk offline about setting you up, but having a Faraday box or a Faraday bag. What some people don't know about those is it protects from EMPs. And now, if we get hit with an EMP, your phones, everything, computer, TVs, all that crap's garbage. It won't work ever again. But what I do, and we'll go into it on my channel, is I have extra ECUs for my cars. that I store in a Faraday box. So if we get hit with, say, an EMP here, within a day or two, I could have my cars back on the road. There's some weird caveats to that I'd say, if you're the only car on the road, it makes you a big target. However, in an emergency, I just put my foot down and roll. So it doesn't cost much to go to the junkyard. Like I'm gonna head with Anthony, and we're gonna go get him a couple of extra ECUs for his vehicles. It's just not something that we've talked about in the past, so we'll get him set up for his own Faraday box and teach him how to change out his ECUs on his cars. Yay! we gonna learn some car stuff. But yeah, other things like if you're into cryptocurrency, you know, throw some of your you know, your crypto wallets or whatever in your Faraday bag or box. So that's just one of those other random preparedness things that you can have. I highly recommend it. Maybe not necessarily right off the bat, but if we do get hit with, say, an EMP, your car is not going to work. And the reason why is because your computer was fried.
So for the listeners that don't know, what is the EMP?
An electromagnetic pulse. So it will, all the electronics, it'll fry the computers. So
basically think of it as an electromagnetic shock wave that just spreads out like a nuclear blast. A nuclear bomb, the blast from it will send it out for miles. It's just a byproduct of a lot of basically a lot of different bombs with components. But even they do have EMP bombs, with the sole design is to just fry electronics to keep infrastructure, building stuff intact and not harm people. But it just creates massive amounts of chaos.
Yeah, if everybody in our area, you know, all the Tesla driving people and everybody else, their cars are fried. Even, I don't know, I'd say 3 or 4 of my cars have ECUs. I have an old school Chevy that won't be affected in the slightest. But the rest of my vehicles, the computers would be fried. So it's just things for all of my vehicles, I have an extra ECU for them. And do I think that we're ever going to hit with the EMP? I don't know. I highly doubt it, but I'm prepared if we do. So it's just one of those things I've prepared for. And I'll help you prepare for it too, hopefully.
Absolutely, yeah. Let's do that.
And yeah, you touched on it in your last video, having a deck of cards. I like to have a lot of things, outdoor games, activities for you to do, board games, books, anything to keep your mind occupied, because if we lose, hurricanes hit us in the summertime, it's going to be hot, and that's all you're going to think about. So you need a way to escape what you're going through. So having games and having activities, and early onset, you can have fun with your neighbors and do different things. So I find having activities very, very important to your preparedness as well. So you touched on that. It was great. We chatted about this earlier. I call it my MREs. In my normal life, I like to feed the wildlife around my house. Squirrels and birds, I like to see the wildlife. But I also view that as an MRE in a disaster. So I keep feeding these birds their seeds, and the squirrels whatever they want to eat, and they love coming to my house. But if things go awry, I have chicken dinner and I have squirrel dinner. So those guys are always going to keep coming to me. So that is, I like to think of them as my MREs. So feed the birds in your neighborhood, feed the squirrels and the different critters. You never know, you might need them. So it's just one of those things to keep in mind. It's great to have them. I love seeing them on a daily basis. They're beautiful birds. We get cardinals and blue jays and all kinds of neat stuff out here. I've seen a couple of orioles, but don't think I wouldn't eat an oriole. If I get hungry, I'm taking them out, man. So just one of those things. It's an easy concept. Just feed the wildlife around you.
The goddamn squirrels, they throw acorns at people.
If you're hungry enough.
I'll eat a squirrel. I'll eat just about anything. What about talk about your concept of 3? Your rule of 3?
My rule of 3. Oh yeah, my rule of 3. My rule of 3 is essentially this. For any situation, the rule of 3 is roughly have 3 minutes for air. And, you'll either be incapacitated or potentially die. Varies. Some people can hold their breath for 6 or 7 minutes, 5, 6, 7 minutes, whatever. I'm not that guy. So the rule 3: 3 minutes of air, 3 days without water, 3 weeks without food. So if you can remember that, it's very helpful for the future. Not really a huge way to prepare for the air, but you know, if you're in a big smoke cloud or something, the time clock should start hitting. I need to find some fresh air within fast. So you know, if you're seeing something crazy, get to some fresh air as fast as you can. Try to the clock is ticking. Water should be your number one priority, and almost after air, obviously, is 3 minutes. And then 3 weeks without food. The average person can last about 3 weeks without food. So food shouldn't be such a huge priority early on in any of these situations. Procuring water is far more important than food. So that's my rule of 3. 3 minutes without air, 3 days without water, 3 weeks without food. So that's my thing with that. The other thing I find helpful on our day-to-day is practice your bartering skills. Even if it's just selling some crap on Craigslist or Facebook classifieds, work on bartering now and learn those skills, because in an extended outage, those skills may come in very handy to you. And if you can't barter, can't negotiate, people will walk over you. So practice selling or bartering, trading different things. Random stuff you don't need around your house, try to trade it for something that you do need, and work on your bartering skills now. It's really simple, but it may be something very helpful for you down the road.
And these are things you could do like just on the weekend. Like, you know, we're not telling you to go and like, you know, drop what you're doing and start, you know, going to stores and buying everything you can for your emergency kit and filtration systems and water, and you know, like I said before, last video, you know, little things at a time, here and there. Going to the store, grab 2 cans of tuna. You know, going to the store again the week before, grab 2 cans of soup. And what I didn't touch on before is like soup and stews are probably the best thing for you in an emergency situation. What a lot of people don't know is when you cook food on a stove or whatever, a lot of times you're cooking out a lot of the nutrients that the food provides. Whereas soups and stews, this is why broth is so good for you. All the nutrients stays in the liquid. It actually seeps out in the liquid. When you pour out broth and you pour out soups or strain some of the, like, you know, the liquid out, you're literally dumping out a lot of the nutrients that you need. So like soups and stews, and drinking them, consuming the liquid part of it, and not just dumping it out, is the best thing for you. One, it's soups and stews are super cheap to buy. But it holds and contains the most nutrients that you need, especially in an emergency situation when you're rationing food. You know, you're not consuming like you used to be, or probably used to. Now you got to ration out and plan and plan meals accordingly, and even space out meals and rationing meals so it lasts for the long haul. Those soups and stews are perfect for that.
I also find too, I use it in camping applications. I like to not create dishes as much as I can, especially in an emergency. Now, the soups and stews and canned food, you can just take that can and set it right on your propane torch. Crack it, obviously, because if you don't, it turns into like a soup bomb. You don't want that. But crack the top and just let it cook on your thing and just eat right out of that. And you don't lose any of that. The one thing I did do when I first started prepping, I used the dollar store. I went there, and now granted, a lot of their food is like, the reason why it's so cheap is because it's really close to the expiration date. But that's because the FDA states that every food object has to have an expiration date. But
if it's not dairy, it's fine.
Canned food's good for 20-25 years. Now, it won't taste as good as it did when it was fresh. I just recently cracked into a jar of peanut butter I had, and the expiration was in 2016, and it tasted different, but it still worked. I still ate all of it.
He's still alive.
I'm still here. I ate a jar of peanut butter from 2016. So And that was from my emergency supply. And when after you do get, your supply up, set a goal for yourself. Say you want 3 days. I'd start there first. Start 3 days, then get to a month, up to 3 months, and I'd say no more than 6. If you want to, by all means. But after a while, you got cans and everything else. You should go to different style. Maybe go with like Patriot Supply, where they sell month-long freeze-dried food that's good for 25 years. But that stuff is kind of expensive, so I wouldn't say necessarily start with that. Just start somewhere. When you're out grocery shopping, like Anthony was saying, just grab an extra can of tuna, or just take $10 and go to the dollar store and see what you can get. You can probably get 9-10 cans of food for that. So it's just a start, and there's plenty more. I intend to, my wife and I have been talking about taking this guy and his family camping. I'm showing you a bunch of our camping hacks. So.
Oh, absolutely, and we'll when we do that, we'll take video, record, and I definitely will post it. Another thing we forgot to mention is pets. You all have pets. Take that into consideration. Store food and enough water for your pets, even medicine. And if any of your pets are on any type of medication for any chronic illnesses, or even acute, but especially for chronic illnesses, anything long term, those are things you need to take into consideration. A lot of shelters can't accommodate pets if it comes down to that. That was a major issue. Lessons learned from Hurricane Katrina. That was a major issue that a lot of people ran into. Was their pets? They weren't prepared for. Let alone they weren't prepared for themselves either. A lot of people weren't prepared for themselves, but they also weren't prepared for their pets. So yeah, food, extra water for your pets, medication. If you have tiny dogs, and if it's kind of like cold out, any sweaters or anything you might put on your animals. Another thing, lessons learned from Katrina. A lot of people, you have your mothers, aunts, fathers living with you. Some of the elderly who can't necessarily take care of themselves. They have medication and other special needs that apply to them. So that's something you might have to think about as far as long-term food, medication, whatever it is they need on a daily basis. Stock up on that.
Yeah. I say the thing I'll leave you with, like I said, I think water is probably some of the most important. When you're storing water, if you're going to store them in bottles, or just storing water in general rule of thumb, per person, you need a gallon of water a day. So you can figure that out for yourself, how much you'll need. But that's between consuming water and keeping yourself clean. You want to prepare for about a gallon of water a day. If you keep that in mind, you shouldn't have any problems, and then just work from there. We all started somewhere, and I've been doing a lot of camping and outdoor stuff like my whole life, but I'm still learning different hacks and different techniques and things. So always be open to learning more. Never stop learning. And if you feel like you're at that point, you need to reach out and start teaching some other people. And you'll learn from people too as they're learning. So just you always have to keep learning from one another.
I agree. You're never too old to learn. It just makes it just the people that you run into. Like when we first started working together, we just started talking and realized that we have a bunch of things in common. We can both disagree and debate with each other and still keep it friendly. That's like one of the very important things. And then both are kind of I'd say the word survivalist has like a negative connotation to it nowadays, but just basic emergency preparedness. Like we live in Virginia where it's hurricane season. I guess the actual official dates is from June to October, so about half the year. But let's be real, these storms and stuff start coming in like February. Yeah, it's basically might as well just be year round that we're having storms and rain, thunderstorms, lightning storms.
Because we had that nor'easter hit us a few years ago that rocked us, and we had no notice.
Yeah.
So we lost power for a couple days, and there was most of the time with hurricanes we get noticed, but that nor'easter rocked us, man, a couple years ago.
Yeah, and just this last year, even though we're not known for it, we got several tornado warnings So like you will get just kind of like freak weather occurrences that aren't normal for your area. So luckily here we don't really suffer from wildfires or anything like that, but California does. They're known for having wildfires. Arizona, Nevada, New Mexico, they're known for having wildfires. So knowing this, and California earthquakes depend on where you're at. So know the hazards in your area. Know the critical infrastructure that's in your area that, again, could be hacked. The gas line, pipeline got hacked, which affected most of the East Coast.
Yeah, I think it was from Maryland down to Georgia. Gas ran dry. The other thing I'll say too is, when you do start prepping and you have other friends, like we have a major disaster, me and Anthony can link up and help take care of each other, because I know he's a prepper and he knows I'm a prepper, and he knows I'm not there to steal or take from him, and I can help protect his family as well as him help protect me. So it goes both ways. So if they're hit worse down there, he can come up here, or if we get hit harder up where I'm at, I can go down and join him, and he doesn't feel like it's just somebody coming to take advantage of him. So you can implement that in your life too. If you know that there's people around you that are into preparedness and that, then those are the people that I would be looking for, if something does awry. Because most people come knocking on my door, they're going to get the middle finger and they can go about their day. But Anthony comes knocking, I know he's coming, he's prepared, he's ready to go. So he's not up here seeking a handout.
Absolutely.
So,
think of anything else?
I don't think so. I think I hit most of my notes. Some of the stuff was, I just had some of my random match trick. When he was talking about storing matches, I think, in one of your videos. The thing that I like to do, you don't necessarily need a waterproof container for your matches. Obviously, if you have one, use it. But what I find easy is take your matches and a candle in your house, melt the candle, get the wax, and just dip the match into the candle wax, and it'll coat it. And so even if your bag or your go bag or whatever you have gets wet, no problem. That match will still work just fine. That wax will protect it. So just some random hack that I have.
I like it. So yeah, further down the line, we're probably gonna we'll link up again, do some videos on basically teaching y'all how to start a fire. Maybe teach y'all how to find a water source. When we were talking before we started the video, actually, like starting a fire when it's raining, or starting a fire when just the wood's damp, the tinder's damp. Just with the materials being damp alone is very, very tricky. Not impossible, but it's more difficult to start a fire. So we'll probably do a couple videos of that nature.
Yeah, absolutely.
He's very big into archery. So those of you who are anti-gun, or even right now, just ammunition is just the price of ammunition is through the roof.
It's crazy. Crazy.
And you can't necessarily stock up on ammo right now. Archery is not a bad way to go. You can reuse the arrows. You can create arrows on your own.
You can.
Technically, you can create a bow on your own. So it's a concept there, either for home defense, or even just for hunting purposes. So
yep,
that's something to take into consideration. It's ultimate means of defending yourself, ultimate means of defending just your property in an emergency situation, and renewable sources of food long term. Like I said, I showed you, I think, I've got a variety of different vegetable seeds that I can plant. His MRE idea, I just, that for sure what's going through a lot of people's mind is, that's mean and cruel, but take yourself out of today for a moment and put yourself into a week from now, when you've had no food,
Wait till your wife or your kids are hungry, or...
Yes, especially that, there's nothing I wouldn't do for my wife and kids, so that squirrel's got to go, I appreciate the, obviously, thank and appreciate the meal, definitely nothing's going to go to waste, but, that's unfortunate, that's life. You're in an emergency situation, almost, you know, like you get to the point where it's almost life or death. You know, you're past 2 weeks, past 3 weeks, past the point where what your body can handle, you know, or your kid's body can handle. They're much younger. So like, you know, my kids won't be able to say last 3 weeks. My kids probably about a week and a half because they're kids, you know. So, and even though, like you say, right now we're, like you said, about, you know, average diet is about 2,000 calories, but that's your average. Get up, go to work, maybe go to the gym, but that's just your daily average. You know what you need to consume. But now all hell has broken loose. So what are you doing? You're out gardening. You're putting in a lot of extra work, burning a lot more calories. So you have to think about that. Well, the more calories you burn, the more you're gonna have to replace just to continue on. You know, you're boarding up windows, and, you know, shoring up the fences. You know, maybe if you've gotten that point so bad that you literally have to stand watch at night to make sure people don't come and break in and mess with you and your family, you know. Let's put this in perspective. You know, basically, I mean, it only takes a couple days, but think of it in other areas where just a basic riot happens and people just start losing their minds and go looting and killing and stealing. And it's just, you know, don't get me wrong, I'm not being lighthearted about riots, you know, it's awful, but it's not a natural disaster. It's not a citywide power outage. It's not a, you know, neighborhood-wide power outage. You know, it's a singular incident, but even that escalates quickly.
And that's where I would grab my go bag and leave if that was happening in my neighborhood. There's nothing here at my house that's worth my life, my family's life for. Grab my stuff and leave. They want my house, they want my TVs, I don't care, man. They can have it all. I can replace stuff. I can't replace my wife, and I can't replace my kids. So that's why you prepare. You know, get out if you can.
That escalates quickly. So what's going to happen in 3 days, 4 days, a week with no power, no resources? Things are going to escalate quickly. You see how people freak out if they accidentally leave their phone at home. If they go at 24 hours without their phone, you see how people freak out on situations like that. So this is all very possible, you know. So you may be burning way more calories than your average because there's so much to prepare for, so much to do. So that's something you have to think about as well. All right.
We covered quite a bit. This is gonna be a long video.
Yeah, we have some editing to do.
We're gonna have to do this more often.
My alarm knocked off the video, so we'll definitely get into that. But yeah, this was good. I like doing this. It's a really good interview. Yeah, any last comments? Any last tips?
You just gotta start. You just gotta start. You know, start small, like he was saying, buy some extra stuff, but start preparing. You never know. So just get out there and start.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I appreciate y'all, you know, joining me as well. Thank you very much. You know, please like, share, follow, join, subscribe, all that good stuff. It helps me out tremendously. And you know, any comments, you have any suggestions or anything you want to debate about, you know, anything you want to discuss, any questions you have, feel free to send a comment, send me an email. My contact information is on all my social media sites, basically. So I'm open for everything. Be polite, no rudeness, but I am open for anything. I'm open to discuss anything. We can debate whatever it is you want to debate. If you have new information out there, you know, send it to me. You know, I'm all open, and if I've discovered that I'm wrong, great. You know, I will admit that I'm wrong, and I will put out the correct information. So, you know, I'm all for it. So, be looking forward to more emergency preparedness videos coming. I'll probably switch back into more of the, you know, security and fitness and health and things of that nature. But there will be more emergency preparedness videos coming along the lines. There'll be some more useful information in the description of below for you. t-shirts are on order, so I should be getting those June 3rd. The company t-shirts, so look out for that as well. And I've got my man here, he's coined a great phrase for the t-shirts that I will reveal when the t-shirts come out. It's awesome. But thank you very much. I greatly appreciate you being here, and have a good one.
See you next time.